This desert plant can actually grow faster the hotter it gets. Now,
If they can get a tomato growing in Death Valley in 5 years, hats off to them.
Tidstromia oblongifolia.
Let's just call it Ted.
Ted. You have water storing plants, you have deep root plants, you have salt and heat tolerant plants like...
How do I keep this plant alive? Like, okay, you need to turn your temperature up to about 60 Celsius.
Think Death Valley.
The Helpful Gardeners, the podcast that digs into the buzziest plant trends and news you need to know, regardless of your growing zone. Colin is a skilled horticulturist with decades of growing experience across Canada. Brandi is the greenest of green thumbs with a love of asking questions. Welcome to our garden nook.
Do you watch like full YouTube videos or is it like YouTube shorts? Because I am heavily addicted to YouTube shorts lately.
Yeah,
like,
see, when I'm like down doing something, I'll just put YouTube shorts on. But when I'm sitting down and I've just got something in the background, it's like the long form stuff,
fair
right?
enough, okay.
Sometimes you get into these like just wormholes of just
Yep.
you know, and so somehow I didn't go searching for this, but somehow I got suggested a video from Red Bull, and it was actually really cool. It was about this Polish ski mountaineer. I'm gonna butcher this name, but Andrzej Bargiel.
Okay.
He became the first person to climb Mount Everest and ski back to the Everest base camp without supplementary oxygen. The whole video, I couldn't stop watching.
I hope when he left the top, he was like, see you later, suckers. Because he had to have gone. Don't you have to cross like huge ravines on ladders and stuff?
Yeah, so he actually had his brother in a drone. And not in the drone, but piloting the drone. And he had to actually map it out on the way back because you're right, like most of those things you have to be able to climb, right? So he was able to do it and it was really quite cool. Yeah. What plants survive on Mount Everest?
That's where you went.
Well, I'm like, obviously I saw a lot of snow and I was like, probably nothing underneath that snow. Like probably the closest thing to vegetation is not even the Everest base camp. I don't know.
I mean, there might be some like mosses and lichen at that high altitude, but
yeah, because if humans can't survive without oxygen, we literally last week talked about how plants need oxygen to survive.
It's lacking damn near everything. Well, okay, it's got sunlight, but most of it doesn't have heat. I can't imagine they get rain. All the precipitation is going to be snow or frost.
Yeah.
But the oxygen is going to be so thin. So it would either have to be, you know, it looks like a moss, but it is a super specific, evolved, rare form of moss that made it up there. Or there's nothing.
Maybe there's a market for artificial plants on Everest.
You're waiting in line to be like, get your picture at the summit and there's a monstera. Taking selfies next to ficus.
100%. I'm just saying, if garden centers are out there and they want another market to tap into, bringing a plant, that'd be like the equivalent of that'd be like the gardener's equivalent to a flag. Instead of bringing a flag, we would bring a plant.
You get to the top of Everest, you put your pothos down. Like, yeah!
Well, you know, it got me thinking about plants that can survive incredible things, right?
Yeah.
And you sent me this article from Death Valley. This desert plant can actually grow faster the hotter it gets. Now, I don't know much about Death Valley. Death Valley is around Vegas, is that right?
Yeah, it's in that neck of the woods, yeah.
Okay,
Nevada,
so desert.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Do they call it Death Valley because it's so hot?
Yeah, because basically if you get lost in there or you go in ill-prepared, you're not making it out. The average temperature is like average 40 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, average?
Average, which means it will easily spike to, I think I've seen temperatures in Death Valley in like 55 region. Yeah. So between the intense exposure and the speed of dehydration, you're not making it.
Geez, that's like being in our greenhouse
That's it.
in the summertime.
Yeah.
And like definitely have felt how hot that feels. So they said Death Valley is a desert valley in Eastern California, straddling the border with Nevada, and it is the hottest, driest, and lowest place in North America.
Interesting. Is the botanical name easier or harder to pronounce than the
Can you tell I'm avoiding it?
Than the Polish skier. Worst podcast pronunciation day ever.
So, okay, I'm going to give this a crack, okay? Tidstromia oblongifolia.
Let's just call it Ted.
Ted.
That's its common name, Ted.
I love that. For the rest of the episode, this will be called Ted. But it's cool. I'm just looking it up right now, and it kind of reminds me of a lamb's ear perennial. Yep. It's got this, it's like the marriage between a little succulent and a lamb's ear. So it's got these tiny, cute little leaves with the yellow bits in the center, and then
it's kind of a mound grower too, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's a little mound grower, and they're covered in like this white fuzz, which I would assume would protect it because it's white, would reflect the sun.
Yep,
right?
Reflect as much heat off of it as it can.
Yeah. What's really cool about this, though, is that it adapts.
When we think about our world now, and we think about, you know, how powerful our phones are, and how much information is out there, I still get surprised when I learn about a new animal.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would have thought I would have heard about it. And I'm not talking about some obscure deep sea fish that nobody has ever seen. I'm talking about some animal that lives in like Australia. And you're like, I've been to Australia and I've never heard of that.
Yeah. We like to think that we're masters of the above ground, but.
And we think, oh yeah, I've heard of them all. There's so much out there. We don't like, did you see that thing? Bit of a segue, but it was so cool. They have the first ever documented case. They believe they're obviously looking into it. It happened this week in British Columbia of wolves using tools. So you know the coastal wolves, the sea wolves? They have learned to pull up the fishermen's crab traps and open them and eat the crabs.
Wow.
Yeah, which is tool use.
Yeah.
They understand what that is doing, and they know how to bring it back into shore.
Yeah. So we know animals can adapt.
Yep. But animals, we credit intelligence and observance. What is remarkable about this plant, because we know plants have evolved. We were just saying, you know, if there are plants on Everest, they would be highly specialized and evolved. You know, plants have been around for a very, very, very long time, and they don't look identical to how they did. So they evolved because there was more oxygen on the earth back then, and now they've had to change and be smaller. And the giant redwood, there's so many different types. It's the speed that this one evolves.
Okay, so what does it, do we know the speed?
It's literally, I believe, in a 24-hour window, it can alter its cell structure. Maybe you could make the argument, and I'm no geneticist, but maybe you could make the argument that when my tomato plants are getting very hot and the leaves curl and they droop, that's adapting.
Okay? Yep, that's very valid.
Is it really adapting? Am I adapting if I go outside and I start to sweat to cool myself? Is that adapting, or is that just, you know, a natural trigger? This plant actually adapts. So in order to process the heat more efficiently so it's not exerting itself, it actually moves the mitochondria and the chloroplast closer together in the cells. Like its cells actually change. It doesn't just curl its leaf. It actually releases new cells, specialized cells that go into the leaves and they repair the sun damage.
like you're actively, like that sounds like something out of a superhero movie. Like
exactly.
When you're repairing yourself.
You're repairing yourself, or you're like, oh, I need to be more efficient. So you alter your cellular structure. Your cellular, it's not like duck and cover. It's like Colossus. He changes his cells to become metal. Yeah. And that's what this plant is doing. And so this plant, a lot of plants get mixed up between carbon dioxide and oxygen. So they're not photosynthesizing. This plant has developed a way for its chloroplast to change so that it captures more oxygen than carbon dioxide. It is adapting at an alarming rate. And then when it cools down at night, everything goes back to normal. Yeah. It resets and then it goes again the next day. So in a 24-hour period, as the heat is spiking, this cellular structure is changing at a base level.
Yeah, and you're right. They the chloroplasts reshape into cup-like forms. Thousands of genes switch on to protect the plant's essential machinery. It's just incredible. And I mean, you know, if we're talking about global warming and that kind of thing, this plant almost seems like the startup company.
That's a great analogy.
Right? It's like it's getting in with the opportunities, right. You know, if global warming continues to be on the rise, I can't help but think if one plant was able to do it, then we might see other plants become the same thing. And I mean, on the other side of it too, because there could be huge fluctuations to the cold side too.
Yep. One of the problems they had, they knew there was something different about this plant. Yep. The problem being what we said at kind of the beginning of this episode, you're like, this plant is very different. It actively grows during this hot period. And they're like, okay, go study it. You're like, it's in Death Valley. How can I study? I'm out there for 10 minutes. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Like the plant's doing better than you are.
Exactly. So in order to study it, they needed to bring it somewhere where they could study it. But then they had to replicate the conditions of Death Valley. So it was very difficult for them to, it's rather specific.
Yeah, and I doubt you're ever going to put this house, like this is not a house plant.
Yeah, I don't know. Jenny likes the house nice and warm.
Yeah, but you remember how you always talk about how you replicate the conditions? like this plant would not be one that you would want to do that with.
How do I keep this plant alive? Like, okay, you need to turn your temperature up to about 60 Celsius.
Think Death Valley.
Put it in the oven. Do you have an air fryer? Come on, it's like, what smells good?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they built this highly specialized greenhouse, put the plant in, and then they actually got to see up close what it was doing. Mm-hmm. And exactly what you said, they're looking at seeing if they could do gene splicing and gene coding into other plants so that they could adapt to the adverse conditions that they could be facing because it's drought tolerant too.
Yeah. So like essentially they're kind of doing their research to see if conditions were to get worse or if we wanted to, utilize the Death Valley climate, maybe we can grow vegetables or maybe we can whatever we can do with that.
If they can get a tomato growing in Death Valley in 5 years, hats off to them. But obviously my first thought is, that's amazing. I love human ingenuity. I love the fact that we have tools that we can actually see cells changing. Mm-hmm. Like it's phenomenal what we've come up with. And we can do all of that and we can't change climate change.
Yeah, we're reacting.
Instead of that, we're using a startup company.
Yeah, we're using a startup plant. But it's kind of cool. There's a bunch of other plants that can, survive extreme. Maybe not as extreme, but there's the agave. What else was there? When you were in Australia, did you ever see acacia trees?
You know what? I possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I know there's a lot of plants there.
Yeah, and the problem with Australia too is that there's so much punching you in the face, you forget the big picture. Yeah. So we went swimming and we saw octopus, and then you're standing there looking at the tree and they're filled with rainbow lorikeets and cockatoos. Yeah. And then you turn around and in the middle of the road, a bird of paradise is growing like a dandelion. Yeah. So you tend to, you stop looking at I wonder what tree that is. You're like, oh my God, what's that?
True.
Spiders this big running around.
Let's be honest. There's a lot more to see.
Yeah.
But this tree is a taproot tree. It has these incredibly deep roots that will reach the water table far below the surface. You have water storing plants, you have deep root plants, you have salt and heat tolerant plants. Plants are adapting in many ways to meet the conditions. My question, though, is, are there going to be plants that will be able to survive on Everest, right? You never know.
Yeah. This plant didn't pop up yesterday. We just discovered it now.
Truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even though it can rapidly change, how long has it been doing that for? How many eons has this plant been doing it? We just found it. Those wolves could have been pulling up crab traps for the last 20 years.
True.
Right?
Very true.
We just got it on tape now.
Yeah.
So we tend to see something and we go, oh, wow, that's happening now. But maybe every year the moss and the lichen on Everest goes an inch higher, goes 2 inches higher, and it's slowly adapting. And the lichen up at this height is now not the same lichen that it was here because it's evolved over centuries to climb the mountain.
It's what you say about our backyards or gardens, right? Is that it's never just staying the same. It is an active ecosystem that's constantly evolving. So you can't help but wonder. And
just imagine you're this little lichen and you're growing on Everest and you're like, oh my God, I'm the furthest plant. I am the tallest plant in the world. And then some wanker skier goes straight over your head.
This podcast is brought to you by Golden Acre Home and Garden. Find seasonal inspiration for your home and garden in Calgary, Alberta year-round. Visit goldenacre.ca. The comments and opinions expressed by the Helpful Gardeners on this show are our own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Golden Acre Home and Garden. For more information on everything we covered today and to leave us a voice note, visit goldenacre.ca/podcast. The Helpful Gardeners are on Instagram at The Helpful Gardeners Pod.